Hey, this is Andreas. I'm the founder of mindbodyconnection.org. We help high-performing professionals get out of chronic pain by using clinical hypnotherapy and neural circuit retraining. Today, I want to discuss with you the topic of the mind-body connection and how stress can create chronic pain, all from a scientific perspective. The most fundamental part of the mind-body connection is the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is the part of the nervous system that controls involuntary processes like your heartbeat, your blood pressure, and your breathing. And the autonomic nervous system has two parts. It's the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system we usually call the fight or flight response. This is where all the blood goes into the big muscle groups, leaving your internal organs. So all the blood, all the nutrients, all the energy goes into the muscles to get you ready for action, to fight or to run away or to freeze. The other part of the autonomic nervous system is the parasympathetic nervous system. This is often called the rest and digest system, or the rest and digest response. This is the opposite reaction, where all the blood and the nutrients and the energy and the resources of the body go back into the internal organs, into the reproductive systems, and the body will spend its energy digesting food and repairing itself. Okay, so let's consider how these two systems used to work back when humans lived in a more primal way, like when we lived in caves thousands and thousands of years ago. So when we were out scavenging for food, we might encounter a dangerous animal, like a lion. And when we see that lion, immediately our bodies and nervous systems go into the sympathetic activation response. That's the fight or flight. So the heart rate goes up, the blood pressure goes up, and all the nutrients and the blood goes into the legs, ready to get you out of there. And that is the body prioritizing surviving in the moment. So in that moment, it doesn't care about reproduction or digestion or anything like that. It needs to get you away right now to survive another day. So if you are a cave man or woman running away from a lion, if you're having a great day, then you managed to escape. And you got back to your tribe and back to the cave and back to safety. And now your body is shifting back into a more safe mode. So the fight or flight response downregulates and your body starts shifting into the parasympathetic response. Rest and digest. So the blood will, well, first of all, the pulse starts coming down, the blood pressure starts coming back down to normal levels. And now, you can finally breathe. So the blood, the resources, energy will come back into the digestive organs, help you digest your food so you have more energy tomorrow, in the future, right? So this is kind of how the body thinks survival in the moment versus investing in the future. I think this is a great way to think about how the autonomic nervous system works. The fight or flight response is survival in the moment, right now. It doesn't care about the future. But as soon as you're back into that safe mode of being, then your body feels safe and ready to invest in all the long-term health benefits. So that's in the old times. Now let's consider the daily life of the modern human. So perhaps you wake up maybe a little bit tired from the day before because you were doom scrolling or watching Netflix until late. So now you're feeling kind of tired. So you've overslept and you're late for work. So you're kind of feeling stressed about that. And you roll over and you pick up your phone from your nightstand and there's an email, and it's from your boss. It came in the middle of the night, and it says, this urgent project needs to be finished today, or else, right? So now you really feel amped up, okay? And that's even before getting out of bed. So you make your way to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you do everything you need to do to get ready with your day. And then you get in your car to go to work. And of course, you're already late, but now there's a traffic jam. And now you can really start feeling the pressure, right? Now you're super late. But you're trying to make the best out of it, so you decide to put on some music or the radio or whatever. But it's not music because it's the morning news. And it's actually telling you that interest rates are going up. So your mortgage will be way higher very soon. And in addition to that, AI is coming to take your job. Woohoo. And now you're steaming, right? All the stress hormones just really circulating in your body. You're trying to think about that project. You're late. You're trying to figure out a good excuse as to why you're late. And this just keeps on compounding, right? You have to stay late at work to finish that project, and now you're late for a parent-teacher conference, or you're late for your CrossFit class or whatever. And this is how we live our lives. And the big difference is that we are never shifting truly back into that parasympathetic rest and digest mode of being. We are always dealing with these low-level, constant stressors. So while in the old times, the stress response were more on and off. And of course, there were some nuances, right? But it was more like very, very imminent danger, and then dealing with the stress, getting away, fight or flight, shift back into safety. Now it's like a constant drip of stress. So it's not like all the systems are firing in the fight or flight response, but it is to a very small extent, but it's constant. So we're never resolving our problems. It's always another email, more bad news, more to-dos, more inflation. There's always something, right? And this is actually the cause of a lot of our modern day chronic diseases and chronic pain, because our bodies never get the chance to go back into a mode where it can heal itself. Now we know that stress can also cause actual physical pain. But how is that possible? Well, you see, all pain is generated by the brain. So when you get an actual injury, the nerves in that location will go through the body, up the spinal cord and into the brain. And the brain will interpret whether that is dangerous or not. So when you get an injury, the nerves talk to the brain, and the brain decides, oh wow, here's a danger, here's a threat. And it produces the pain to let you know that something is wrong and that you need to take the appropriate steps to handle it, to avoid injuring yourself even more. There's one story I always tell about how this works, and I should probably find some new stories to get a bit of variation, but I just think it's great, and it really illustrates the point. So I'll tell it once again. And that's the story about being out for a jog, and coincidentally, you happen to roll your ankle. And the ankle will start to hurt pretty quickly. And that is the brain letting you know that something has happened to your ankle, and if you keep running on it, then you risk injuring yourself even more, which of course the brain doesn't want. So it produces pain to let you know something's wrong, you need to handle it. However, if you were being chased by something, Again, the lion. I love lions. Anyway, if you're being chased by a lion, and it's no doubt about it, it wants to eat you, okay? Then if you roll your ankle, the brain doesn't think that's important at all, because the brain knows that if it generates pain in your ankle to let you know that it's damaged, then that pain might make you run slower. So the lion will come and eat you. And the brain is pretty smart. It will prioritize immediately that if the lion will catch me, then I'm done. So I don't care about that ankle right now, because survival in the moment is top priority. So that really illustrates how the brain can take in signals from the body, but it will interpret those signals before deciding to generate pain. So now you might wonder, Andreas, how does this make stress create pain? Well, we know from studies that emotional pain actually activates the same areas in the brain as physical pain. Some researchers even suggest that we should think about pain as an emotion. These negative emotions that we feel, they can feel like threats to the brain, and they can activate the stress response, the sympathetic nervous system. And there's studies now that show that social rejection and the pain that comes along with that, it's processed by the same areas in the brain as actual physical pain. So that means that emotional and physical pain are so closely interrelated. And that's why emotional pain can actually create real physical pain in the body. And this is called neuroplastic pain. There's also a lot of different names to it that you might hear in everyday conversations or in the scientific literature, like nociceptive pain or centralized pain or psychophysiologic pain. There's a lot of different names. But neuroplastic pain is very, very real. It's not like you are imagining it or exaggerating it. Nothing like that. It's very real. But it is generated by neural circuits in the brain, and this can happen even without any form of actual injury or damage or disease in the body. And this type of pain can be very problematic because most people aren't aware that it exists. And it is estimated that most people with chronic pain experience some sort of neuroplastic pain. And they can take all the tests and they can take all the scans, but the pain seems to return because it's not actually anything wrong with the body. But there are neural circuits in the brain that is turning on these pain signals because of emotional pain. By the way, if you think that you might have neuroplastic pain, we have created an assessment that takes you through questions related to neuroplastic pain, and it will help give you an indication as to whether or not your pain is neuroplastic. So you can check that out in the description below. But what can we do about neuroplastic pain? Well, the main problem is what we call the pain-fear cycle. And what tends to happen is that when we experience some sort of pain in our bodies, we tend to get worried, anxious, and afraid. And especially when we don't know what is wrong, right? So you experience a pain and you might think, oh no, there's the pain again. What's wrong? Like, is something wrong? Is there a disease here? Am I getting worse? Why is the pain not going away? Am I ever going to get out of this pain? And immediately the stress response is back. And this stress response tells the brain, it's kind of here's the cycle, right? It tells the brain that there's danger here, there's a threat. This pain is a threat and we don't know what's going on. And because it's the brain and the neural circuits that create the pain to begin with, that tension and that anxiousness makes the brain even more sensitized. And it will start to produce more pain. And this is the pain-fear cycle. So to get out of neuroplastic pain, to fix it, to reduce it, to eliminate it, there are two main things that we need to do. And both revolve around breaking the pain-fear cycle. The first is we need to teach and retrain the brain to know that it is safe and it is okay. Because this helps us and allows us to break the fear part of the cycle. So when the brain can experience that pain, but instead of catastrophizing, the brain feels certain that nothing is actually wrong. I'm safe, I'm okay. Then that helps the brain down-regulate that stress response, making it less likely for more pain to be generated in response to the stress and the perceived threat. The other and the second part of the strategy has to do with emotional awareness and emotional expression. You see, because the emotional pain circuits and the physical pain circuits are very interlinked in the brain, often there are some sort of emotional pressure that can contribute to the pain showing up in the first place. So for a lot of people, recovering from neuroplastic pain is necessary for them to go through exercises and a training program related to being able to recognize their emotions and express them in a healthy way. And this helps regulate the brain and helps regulate the nervous system. This is exactly what we do at mindbodyconnection.org. If you want to learn more, you can check out the other videos on our channel. We also have a neuroplastic assessment questionnaire that you can take, and that will help you get an indication as to whether or not your pain might be neuroplastic. So you can check that out in the description below. In the description, you'll also find a link to our waiting list. And if you sign up to our waiting list, we will reach out to you once a slot opens, and we will invite you to a free personal assessment call where we will look more into your history and your symptoms and your pain, and we will together figure out if our program could be the right fit for you. So that's everything from me today. I'm wishing you health and happiness, and I'll see you in the next video.